All right, my friends, I'm really happy to bring Brian Freeman back to the Beach Brick Podcast. Here he is in Wichita, Kansas, driving through, stopping by.
Yeah, in person.
It's
awesome to be here.
Super happy you're here. This is interesting. Met Brian probably 4 or 5 years ago online. Yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think 2013-ish.
We did an interview, and that, I think, helped the podcast as much as anything. Brian remembers the interview as well, but I think for the podcast it was realizing that I could see somebody in the jiu-jitsu world and send them a message, and sometimes they say okay.
Yeah.
Like, you were one of those guys. Like, I interviewed a lot of friends, a lot of people that I knew through jiu-jitsu, a lot of friends, that type of thing. But it wasn't very long after that, I ran out of people to talk to that I didn't already know. I'm like, look at this guy, Brian. This is pretty cool what he's doing. I sent you an email, and you were super cool. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Oh, this is easy. So I don't know how many negative experiences of people saying no it would have taken, because I've gotten a lot of those back to back to back. Like, I could send out a whole bunch. Like the whole weekend, I just strike out. If that happened first, I don't know if this would have been, I would have had the energy to keep going, but you were so cool about it. I think that just getting that idea of I could reach out to people who are doing cool things in the sport, and a lot of them say yes.
You got your podcast confidence.
I did, and I think you helped a lot with that.
I remember the person who gave me my jiu-jitsu confidence. It was before I learned a guard pass or anything, and I went to like a seminar, and it was the last station was an advanced guard pass to a submission, and black belt CJ Murdoch. I was watching this, and they were starting on one side and jumping across the person to the other side, and I didn't have the mobility that I have now, and I was like, there's no way I can do that. And he was like, no, you're going to do it. We're going to get you through it. And I got through it, and I was like, okay, so if I can do that, I can pretty much do anything in the sport, So, it's cool to get that confidence early on.
And that was at a seminar?
Yeah.
So did you not know that person very well?
No. I didn't. Yeah. I had not even learned a guard pass yet. They was like, what's your guard pass? I'm like, I don't have one. I haven't learned one yet. I
think a lot of people don't have a guard pass. They just want to get past the legs.
Right.
Like, that's kind of cool. But, welcome to Wichita. And this has been a cool opportunity. He's spent the morning here. We went to open mat together, got some good mat time, and had some good times on the mats. And I was pretty aware of a lot of his game as far as wrist locks and sometimes giving up some position and working from those spots. And being aware of it doesn't really help a ton. It helps, I think. I think with the wrist locks, if somebody is totally clueless, you get a surprise one on them pretty good, and it's like, whoa, and then the next one will be a little bit tougher, because they didn't even think it was going to happen. And when you get somebody who's good at wrist locks, and you know that at a time, it really helps. But I don't know, talking about your game, your north-south was very interesting, and like, he got top north-south, and I compare it with anybody in our gym as far as, like, I feel like I'm just going to get choked. Like,
thank you.
Trying to, get space, fighting for air, trying to get my arms between us. That was a tough spot. Very interesting Kimura game. He showed me some tricks.
Well, training with Roy, he's so detail-oriented. And for me, I find that I need all the little details, because where you might use your legs to incorporate in part of, like, maybe your Kimura trap or just anything. I don't have any of that, so it's as many little details as I can get, the better it is for me, especially trying to understand the things that I can't do. It's like, I can't do this, so I need a detail, or I need a mechanic in this move to make up for that deficit. And so, I think that's where some people think it's tricky, but maybe it is. I have some trickiness, especially from the traditional bad spots.
Yeah. But maybe crafty is another word you could use.
Yeah.
So I as the point I got on your back, we rolled for, I don't know, was it 45 minutes an hour?
Yeah.
I don't know, we recorded a little bit of it, so we'll play some of that too. But several times I get on your back, and I know this is a spot that you work from, and super hard to get to your neck, like, and just throwing up, like wrist locks, and making me reset my attack seemed like it was a charm. We also have a little cat here that's just stopping by.
In here.
But it was like I'd start to set up my choke, and then I would defend an attack on one of my arms, and I start to set up, controlling it, and I have to defend again, and then before I know it, I was really trying to move to an arm bar because I wasn't super comfortable. Like, this is a spot I should be perfectly happy at, and it was disrupted.
Right.
And so I think that, anybody that does jiu-jitsu, if you pick a spot and just work it, that could be anything.
Right.
And that's something that I think you've done with certain positions, because it's, somebody's going to be happy to take your back if it's presented.
Yes. And I catch a lot of stuff in those transitions because their muscle memory is immediately seatbelt, hooks, get control, and then start working. And I'm aware of that, right off the bat. So while muscle memory is taking over, I'm looking, the arm's usually going to come over this side. Everybody usually reaches over and under. So it's...
Yeah.
You guys are predictable.
Eventually, I started putting both arms on. I'm like, well, I'm not going to choke anybody with both arms underneath. That was... And my hooks were largely ineffective anyway. Like...
Well, see, I want to be there, and so your hooks are keeping me there.
Yeah.
So I'm basically using your legs to my advantage. I'm not using my... That's some real black belt magic right there. I just have your legs do what mine won't do.
Still all choked up. So now you're purple belt. I think were you white belt when I interviewed you first?
Yeah.
Pretty early on.
Yep.
What has that been like, going up to the ranks a little bit and dealing with the belts? Because I know that each belt represents something different for people. What have you experienced as a blue belt? What have you experienced as a purple belt that's been different?
Blue belt was a hard transition because I went from getting tapped out by all these white belts, and I get my blue belt, and the very next day I'm still getting submitted by the white belts that were tapping me out, and it took a little while to feel like a blue belt because the day after I got my blue belt, I still just felt the day before like I did the day before that. But it was it gave me a lot of confidence. Like, okay, I can definitely, if I can get a blue belt, then I can get a purple belt, and if I can do that, I can eventually get a black belt. And so when every step that I could see I could accomplish or achieve, everything that the able bodies in the sport could do was just something else that cemented the fact that I'm doing jiu-jitsu for life. I'm not stopping. This is something I will do forever. And so that was kind of part of my blue belt journey. Also, I was able to, nobody really wants to listen to the white belt. Shut up, white belt. So getting the blue belt helped a little bit. And not that I want anyone to listen to me, but, for a long time, there were just a few of us adaptive athletes. Like, I knew like 2 or 3 guys, and they didn't know anyone. So as new people started getting into the sport, like newer white belts or whatever, who maybe had some sort of handicap, paralyzed like myself or whatever, they would reach out to me for help. And so going to their gyms to help as a blue belt made me look at least like I knew a little bit about what I was doing, and especially for my situation. And then once I got up to purple belt, the purple belt level, so Roy promotes through a curriculum. You test and everything, and obviously there's no handicap curriculum.
Yeah.
So part of my purple belt test was writing my own curriculum. I had to. He put me through it, but it really helped me understand my game. And now that I'm at purple belt, I feel a lot more confident to go out and help new athletes, because what most people don't think about, I believe, is when someone with a handicap rolls in a gym, they see able bodies doing this, and they're wondering how am I going to do this? But most people don't think about the coaches who are like, oh, I've only ever taught able bodies. How am I going to teach this guy? So being at purple belt has helped me to feel a little more confident in not just helping the athletes, but helping their coaches as well. So I think that's been the biggest transition, going from someone who is not sure if I can do jiu-jitsu to saying, oh, I can do jiu-jitsu, to someone, oh, I can help others like me doing jiu-jitsu. Now I can help others and their coaches. And I think all that just helps more of us get on the mat,
Yeah, that's an interesting concept as far as the coach has to be able to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to pick up, here's how armbar works, here's how the scar pass works, but you have to change some things for people, and that's
right.
Sometimes hard for people to do. So you have to look at, what are we trying to do? We're trying to pass the guard. What are we trying to do? We're trying to escape from a bad position, or we're trying to work from that, or like just kind of change some of the parameters and get good results in that process.
Right.
And it's not all the same.
And a lot of it has been just instead of looking at a set of techniques, just looking at the concept behind all those techniques. What are all these different arm bars trying to accomplish? They're trying to straighten your arm out, hyperextend it. There are intricacies that, keep you from moving so you can't escape that. So instead of grab here, do this, do this, do this, it's control this, stop this, and then go there. So it goes from this grip doesn't work to this grip doesn't work to just approaching it from the standpoint of, okay, I have to do these things. How can my body allow me to do these things? So it's just been a whole different way of approaching the techniques. It's more approaching concepts than techniques. It's kind of where I feel like I'm at these days. And I feel like when I go to help other people who are in this situation, that's where we go every time. We just break it to a concept because not all of us have the same mobility. Yeah. I feel like I'm fairly mobile. Even though I don't use my legs, I've learned how to move a little bit like an able body and have somewhat of an able body game. My friend Max, he has no core at all. So he goes to his back and just plays flat on his back the entire time. So his game is really unique. It's no traditional techniques there at all. It's just 100% concepts. And I feel like that's the whole driving thing of, in a way, I feel like we're doing jiu-jitsu that hasn't been done. We're finding things that hasn't been done. So in some ways, I feel like we're revolutionizing techniques a little bit, because I feel like if I can do this stuff, if you can do it and then incorporate your legs, there's going to be even more, So I feel like in a way we're kind of evolving the techniques, kind of under the radar. Yeah. And not many people want to stay mounted, but we have lots of techniques. I feel very comfortable when I'm mounted.
I could tell.
Yeah, so...
You get him out, and he's cool and collected. He's working different things. I think he wrapped my lapel around behind me. I'm like, okay, that's different, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like, really, I try, when I roll a lot of times, especially people I haven't rolled with before, part of it is keep this guy from putting me where I'm confused. Right. And a lot of times I was confused. Like, that's just the way it was. Like, I didn't feel like you had a position you got to several times where you were kind of at my back, but you're more across my shoulders. Mm-hmm. Maybe you controlled one of my lapels under or something. Your lapel, like, that was an awkward position. And I'm like, I don't know the proper way to turn out of this. I need to figure out which grip is more important to deal with. It's good. It's good for me to deal with confusion and see what I can do to it. But it's great for you to put somebody else in a state of like, this is unusual for me. Because usually if someone's confused, that person's usually in more trouble than they realize. Right, exactly. And, I call that my mount guard, what I did to you. Okay. The lapel behind and here. And, for one, I'm holding you in place, so you can't come up to a high mount. So I have you pretty much just stuck in place. I'm grabbing your lapel so I can protect my neck and keep myself glued to you. So this hand is doing nothing but protecting my neck and keeping you close. So it's understanding like all the things you can do to me when you're mounted. I don't want a high mount. I'm supposed to keep my elbows down so you can't get a high mount on me. But if I stay here, I'm never going to move. So I have to figure out another way to keep you from getting that high mount, keep you from being able to posture up and create that space. And so that's just that's probably one of the best examples of like applying the concept of shutting everything down that you can do, and then whether you dismount either way, or I can create a sweep, but I got control ready no matter where you go. You mentioned that when you first started jiu-jitsu, it felt like there were very few adaptive athletes out there.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the actual case, or do you think that there were some out there that were just fairly quiet and kept to themselves? Or
Yeah, there were definitely some out there who were training, who were, blue belts. And right now, the highest ranking guy we have is spina bifida, and he's a brown belt. I do know of a couple of blind black belts here in America, but Brazil is way ahead.
Yeah.
Brazil has some paraplegic black belts, and the UAE JJF has done a lot to add para brackets, and I think Brazil has like over 200 guys on their roster. And in America, there are like 5 of us guys, in wheelchairs. There's more and more, and I know there's probably some new guys that I'm not even aware of yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were guys. There was a couple of guys with cerebral palsy in Canada who were training and not really out there, and another guy, Shannon Kitchen, who's been on the show. Yeah, absolutely. Shannon, he's blind, so he doesn't do a lot of social media, so it's kind of hard for him to be out there. But with us being so small and jiu-jitsu being such a small community in itself, we just started finding each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, even now, as far as we have quite a few amputees in the sport.
Yeah.
But as far as like the guys who use wheelchairs and everything, we still haven't really grown that much. There's less than 10 of us. But, I remember when I only knew of 2 of us. So
it's nice with social media. It could be a small group, but you could be not feel isolated and feel like your struggles are unique to you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It could be the same thing with like a women's class. You could be the only girl in your class. You could have rolled for 2 or 3 years and never met another woman that has done jiu-jitsu. I mean,
Right.
I talk to girls that have that experience, but they get the shared experience through social media of
Right.
other women are doing this. And today I had this problem on the mat. What was that like for you? Like, I think that's really a big help in getting people to not feel like what they're doing is like, clearly there are no other girls here doing this. Like, why am I doing this? Like, there are no other adaptive athletes in the city I'm in, let alone at the gym I'm at.
Right.
But yeah, go online and you'll find them. And I think that's been a great way that you've helped encourage people to get on the mats. And
yeah. For a long time, I thought the best way for me to help other people in my situation find jiu-jitsu was to do as much as I could, like in competitions against able-bodied athletes, just to get that attention. And now that it's kind of picked up a little bit, it's been a lot easier to find other ways to get. My friend Max and I just did the first Abilities Expo for disabled people up in New York.
Yeah.
And so it was a whole event for people who knew nothing about jiu-jitsu, and some of them were a little freaked out seeing us choke each other because they had no idea what it was about. But at that event we had a little, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5-year-old boy who got on the mat with us and tried some stuff, and a little girl. And then we met another guy, Steve, who was he had spina bifida all his life. He went to different karate schools and they all told him no. He lives in New York. He rolls past Henzo's Academy all the time, and he never went in because he knew they would say no. We got him on the mat, showed him some chokes. He went to Henzo's, signed up, and he's been doing 2 classes 3 times a week.
man,
So it's now we're trying to find other avenues to get more of us on the mat, and it's
so what was your logic between I want to grapple able-bodied people in competition and promote what you're doing? Like, how'd you come to that idea?
so initially my first competition, it was kind of like a role. Like, I don't think I can do jiu-jitsu. My daughter says you can try. Okay, well, I can at least try. I tried. Okay, I can do jiu-jitsu. Next thing you know, I'm in classes and I'm like, I can really do this. Maybe I can compete, and I'll go do that too. And so it was more of a, what can I do?
Yeah.
Then once I established that, like my first couple of competitions, I just got swamped by people wanting to take pictures or ask me questions or whatever. And I'm like, I'm hoping, because I'm not an attention seeker. this is totally not in my personality. If you look at my social media, you see jiu-jitsu and stuff, but you don't see like all the nerdy stuff I like to do behind the scenes. You know, I'm like a space geek and I like all that stuff. But so I had to kind of put some of that stuff aside and was like, okay, I get a lot of attention from doing this. Hopefully somebody in this crowd will say, you know what, I know a guy down the street who came back from Iraq and, you know, he's paralyzed or missing a leg. Or I know a kid down the street who's grown up with cerebral palsy who's always looking for something. So I was hoping that someone would go back and say, hey, you know, I saw this guy in your situation or something similar to you, and he's doing jiu-jitsu. Maybe you should come try it, you know? And that was my approach for a long time, was just hoping that I would get enough attention that someone who knew someone who this would help, you know, would see me and say, I need to invite that guy to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So that was my whole logic. Just, I tell people I never try to get attention for myself. I'm trying to get attention for what I'm doing so other people can come to it also, because it's just helped my life immensely. My mobility, my health. I've lost, I think about 40 pounds since I started, and I'm just healthy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel better.
Yeah, you roll. You didn't seem to get tired at all.
Yeah,
I don't know how we rolled, but it seemed you rolled with several people at the open mat. And
I remember when I was thinking I was like fighting, you know, for like 10 minutes, and it was like 3 minutes in, and, and then I realized one day, I'm like, you know, if I get attacked in the street, all I have to do is survive for about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and that person's going to start gasping for air, and yeah, it's definitely come a long way.
Yeah,
and it's been all jiu-jitsu and what it's done for me.
So you do other things besides jiu-jitsu as far as fitness.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do endurance events like marathons in my wheelchair and also hand cycling, and that all spawned from jiu-jitsu.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu was first, and then
because what happened was after my very first tournament, I realized real quick that I did not have the stamina that the able bodies had.
I think everybody feels that after the first turn.
Right. Well, see, I chalked it up to they can go jogging and I can't. Like, I need some cardio in my life, and so that got me in the cardio, and I kind of got addicted. I like the runner's high. I like doing the really long distance stuff.
Long distance.
Yeah. So
we're talking a little bit earlier. You said you do several half marathons a week.
Yeah.
About 12, 13 miles you get out there.
Yeah, that's in my wheelchair. On my hand cycle, I don't know, 20 miles or so, just for a workout.
So how many times a week are you on the mat?
Typically, as long as my life's not too crazy, 3-4 times a week, maybe 3 nights a week, and then open mat. So a good bit. I do basically. I'll go out and do like half marathon in the morning and then jiu-jitsu at night. Then get up the next morning and cycle 20 miles, and I don't
Staying
know.
active, that's for sure.
Yeah. I feel younger than ever.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting younger. Solid jiu-jitsu keeps me going. But it gives me I don't know, like maybe something's wrong with my head, but I just had the thought like a few months ago. I was like, you know, I think this year I want to do like a 100-mile race. Like, I don't know why, but it's like jiu-jitsu gives me confidence that when these ideas pop in my head, it used to be like, man, I wonder what it'd be like to do a 100-mile race. And now it's like, I think I'm going to do a 100-mile race. It's like, all the thoughts where I wonder, it's like, it went from I wonder to like, I'm going to go do that. And, you know, like, if you think about when we were kids, when you saw somebody doing something cool, you didn't care if you could do it or not. You wanted a turn.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go out and fail miserably, but you got your turn, you know, and sometimes you'd even want to go again. So it's like now I don't care if I fail or not. I just want my turn, you know, and have some fun. And if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. And
so you're going to do a 100-mile race?
106 miles in Arizona. Yeah.
Why is it 106?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the course played out like that.
Okay.
So,
Arizona sounds hot.
It's in November.
Okay, that helps.
So hopefully. But, okay, so this is another thing. I just posted on my social media the other day. Part of this is I can handle the heat pretty good, but I have this other thing in my head where I hear people say, I didn't get to do my cardio today. I couldn't get out there before it got too hot or, you know, whatever. So I want to, like, okay, that's when nobody wants to do it. So that's when I want to go do it. So I can get on social media and call everybody out for being complainers or whatever, you know, like, is it that bad? Like, are you trying to make exercise, like, it's supposed to be a workout. Are you trying to make it as easy as possible?
Yeah.
So
push yourself a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if, I guess I'm a little bit crazy that way, and then jiu-jitsu gives me the confidence to,
Cool.
you know.
That's cool. The endurance training, I think I could feel that on the mat as far as your hand strength and your arm strength. It's not like, I mean, it's clear like your grip, you're holding on. Okay, I try to address the grip, not going to break the grip, but you're also not holding on all that hard. Like, it didn't feel like you were squeezing me like super hard. You were holding on hard, but it wasn't to your limits of, it was just like, I don't know, it was more than enough, but it wasn't excessive, and it was at a relaxed grip for you. Mm-hmm. Like, if I squeezed it hard, it wouldn't be a relaxed grip, and I couldn't do it for very long.
Right. My hands naturally want to close, and I guess it's just from pushing so much.
Yeah.
And even when I'm not pushing, a lot of times my hands are still here, so my fingers don't bend back. Like, my hands are not very flexible. They just are naturally here. And, you know, I've found, not just for myself, but all of us adaptive athletes have unique abilities that able bodies don't have with our body. Even though you can use your whole body, and I can't, I have, like, that endurance in my hands and arms, and it's a different strength, I think. Jess Munter, who was here, because she only has one arm, her that she can use, her legs have more dexterity than a normal person. And usually when you're in those situations, it's freaky because, like you know, like, I can't break the grip. Now how do I address it? I can't address it, you know? So.
Well, I mean, I roll people whose grip I can't break, but I look at them and they're 240 pounds. Right. It's like, okay, I can't break his grip. But it's like, I didn't break the grip. Dang, I should have been, you know, like, it's just, you know, it does catch you off guard. And the same, like, you roll with somebody who's really flexible and have, like, a lot of dexterity, but you can kind of see it coming a little bit, but it hits you with a bit of a surprise. I remember listening, I think, to an interview by a guy who does free climbing, rock climbing. Mm-hmm. I think his name's Alex Honnold. And so that's climbing, no ropes, no safety gear, up at heights that would kill you easily. And he was talking about his hands and the, like, it's not a workout for him. He grabs the rock, and, like, these muscles are so used to doing that, it's literally, like, not even, it's more like a cable that is latched onto something than a muscle thing. And it felt like that, like you grab my gi, and it wasn't like you were needing to, like, squeeze. It was just like it was like automatic grip. It was like, man, he's not letting go of that unless he's done with it.
It feels like walking. Like, a good example is when I push, say, 26 miles in my wheelchair.
Okay.
My arms don't stop. I don't take breaks.
Okay.
They just go. And it's
For
just
26
like,
miles.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't have to think about it. I don't think about the pushing. So when it comes to, like, grips or any kind of strength like that, I don't think about it. You know, to me, it's not, I don't even think my hand or my arm's going to get tired. It's just,
no, it doesn't.
It's just like, I just do it, you know, and I don't think about it. And I know I've incorporated in a little bit of rest time to give my arms a little, my hands or my grip a little break, but I really find that I don't need to that much. Just, it's almost like I've evolved a new type of arm, a new type of hand or something.
So, like, so you're kind of given, or you've developed some physical attributes that you didn't have, and then on top of that, you developed a game that is unique to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think those are two things you can put together, and it's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
So, adaptive athletes, where do you see this, like, 5-10 years from now, as far as you, and then as far as a community of where you hope it is?
I would say, for me, for sure, I want to continue to compete. I compete personal reasons, just it's fun, you know. it's a little more of a challenge than just even going to a different open mat and rolling with people you don't know. I'll probably always do an occasional able body tournament because, the main focus I had when I started was being able to defend myself.
Yeah.
Especially being a single parent, a little kid, and I wanted to travel with her and, feel safe. So for me, doing like an able body points tournament that encourages that fast pace because the points and time limits, to me, I feel like that's almost like as close as I can get to a real street situation with a fully able-bodied person attacking me, So when I do those tournaments, those type tournaments in particular, I have a little different mindset. It's not so much of a competition. It's let me survive this and let me see how well I can do surviving it. And let me be aware of, even though we're only grappling and my opponent is only grappling, let me be aware of where I could be hit, where I could, where it could go wrong. And it's kind of like, I have this fear that if of just getting attacked in the street and like completely failing with jiu-jitsu, and then I'd have to go home and throw away every medal that I won in a competition. That it's just kind of like, because what are they worth then? It's like so I'll always compete, but I just see it growing more and more, and I feel like 4 years ago, I was a novelty. People treated me like I was a novelty. Like, wow, there's a dude in a wheelchair doing jiu-jitsu. And now, with more and more people on the mat, it's becoming more normal, Oh, that's just the adapted division or whatever, And I had a friend, Rafa Diaz, came up from Puerto Rico recently, and he's a white belt, and he's been without power for like 6 months because of the hurricane, living on rainwater, but training every chance he gets. So he lived with me for a few months, and so he was, I guess, kind of like my first student, the first person I was able to spend a lot of time with and work with from the ground up, and that was really rewarding, and I would like to definitely do more of that. And then he went up and did a tournament in New York, the Grappler's Heart tournament, and won a match with a Kimura that I taught him when somebody's mounted on you. And so I think that was so much better and more rewarding than any submission I've hit in competition. It's like, wow, I taught him that. That was cool, So I think also, as time goes on, I would like to help out the newer generation of adaptive athletes. And I definitely see, like Roy. Roy is not, his focus hasn't been, I want to be a world champion. His focus is, I want to be a world champion coach. Not coach world champions, but I want to be like the best coach or teacher I can be. Yeah. And I definitely see the rewards in that after this. So, but then again, I don't ever want to stop competing. Man, I went, the year I did the Pans in 2014 or whatever it was, I was done, and we were there watching the black belts the next day, and there was like, I don't know, Master 6 or whatever the highest is. There were two guys out there that were probably in their 60s or 70s, and man, they slap bump, and they went after it, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this when I'm old like those guys. So, I see it being bigger. I see it being more not accepted, because it's already accepted. We're not rejected. Yeah. Just more normal. Just more part of it. I think we have an ability to maybe evolve some techniques. Be cool one day to see some able-bodied guy say, you mounted me, okay, I'm going to fight from here and choke you from here, we see each other.
We always, when I teach mount escapes, I think oftentimes you'll have to try two different escapes at the same time. Like, I'm going to try to roll the person. If I can't roll the person, I shrimp and get my guard back. If I just try to roll the person, they can block that. If I just try to shrimp and get my guard back, they can block that. But doing two, it makes it much tougher. Doing two and possibly threatening something else, it's another thing to throw in the mix to make them to deal with that. It might, you might get, maybe you could try to roll somebody and end up locking a Kimura in, or maybe you could try to fake a Kimura and escape from the mount or something like that. I mean,
right, exactly.
And the way that you move, it's different than, because everybody else is training mount to escape.
Right.
And you're training mount, and although you're doing things that are different, you're not leaving yourself open. Like,
right.
I think somebody's gonna come over from the mount. Yeah, I'll armbar that easy. Like, no, not really. Like, you're addressing the factors that the person will like lead into it, because nobody tries to Kimura me from mount. Like
Right.
they don't. I get mount. I'm not worried about that. Well, maybe I should. It's nice to see something like that come from a different angle. And the other guy's talking about, I'm kind of confused. Like, okay, I don't know if I actually need to proceed or if I need to stop and rewind and try to take back what he just took.
Right, exactly.
And it's kind of an interesting dynamic. And anytime you could, even when somebody's in mount, if you can make them a little confused,
So what I suggest to people to do is sit down and think of all the positions. Mount's the best one. What techniques do you have when you're mounted? You have escapes. Do you have any attacks? Do you have any sweeps per se?
Yeah, reversal.
Most people have escapes. So when you go to those positions, mount's the best one. I'm like, go there and do not let yourself try to escape. Stay there. Do it for a week. Just slap, bump, fall back, mount me. Now choke me. And you'll start seeing, it's just like anything else. You'll start seeing, especially because everybody knows fairly the same jiu-jitsu. They mount, they're going to go for a choke or an arm lock. It's usually going to, in the gi, they start setting up cross-collar chokes or a traditional arm bar, so it's predictable.
Yeah.
So just, all those positions where you teach people to escape, put yourself there and don't allow yourself to escape.
Don't have that be the
and just
goal.
And
deal with it from the position it is.
Because I know so many able-bodied people, and it's happened to me too, where you get in a tournament and somebody gets mount, and a lot of times their whole focus is staying there. And when somebody's committed to staying there, not opening up to attack or anything, it's essentially like saying, okay, I can't escape, so what else can I do from here? And that also plays into some of my game. The mental part of it is, if I let you throw your best stuff at me and then I'm still there, then you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Try that armbar I learned last week or whatever. So I think people want to escape so bad. They don't want their coach to see this. I'm a purple belt. I got a white belt mounted on me. I can't let my coach see this or whatever, but stay there. It might be the difference in you getting out of that guy at a tournament who's just riding the clock out to win, or it might be, you might get attacked by some giant in the street, where, because it's not always, especially if somebody else knows jiu-jitsu, you can't always escape, and it's better than happen.
It's kind of reminds me of be comfortable in an uncomfortable spot.
Yes.
And a lot of jiu-jitsu ends up being like that.
Yeah. And I find if I can go to the worst spots just right off the bat and just say, all right, what you got? Okay, now
that was it.
That's it, All right, well you can't submit me here, so you're definitely not gonna get me here or here. So
So Brian, one more thing, a big thing that I want to talk to you about is somebody wants to try this. They've never done jiu-jitsu. They're wanting to be an adaptive athlete. I don't know, if wheelchair, or maybe they're missing a limb or something. My advice would be to find a good gym, train a couple months, and then go train with Brian, and they kind of use him as a coach. But really, what advice do you have for them for just starting jiu-jitsu as an adaptive athlete?
First, I would say, and I tell this to everybody, regardless, when you get there to your first class, it's not going to be what you expect. I think so many people are worried that, they're going to suck. Because you hear that mostly. Oh, I suck, I suck. We all did at first. But I tell people it's not going to be what you think it is, because when you go, they're going to want you to come back.
Yeah.
They're going to be helpful. They're going to be welcoming. They're not going to smash you. You're going to leave there saying, wow, I want to go back. And so I would say for most people, just go. Just be relaxed. Just go. And be open about what your limitations are. Some people probably maybe have that ego. It gets choked out of you through your jiu-jitsu journey, but at first it's there, and maybe somebody's like, I don't want to lose, or I don't want to see people see me suck, or whatever. But just go and have fun.
Yeah,
I think the have fun part is the best thing, and it may not matter to some people, but for me, being able, especially the first few months, just being able to be, I wasn't in my wheelchair. I couldn't stand up, but I was sitting on the mat, and so was everyone else. You know, it was like, you know, if someone walked in and looked, I was just like, you know, everybody else. You know? And not that I care about being like everybody else, but, you know, after you spend some time in a wheelchair or, you know, with a disability or whatever, a lot of times you feel like the people you can relate to are others with disabilities, and it feels like a disconnect between the able-bodied life you used to live. And so it's still kind of a place where you can kind of feel it all. And so yeah, I would, so and I guess to tie all this stuff together, I would say to all those people, don't go in with expectations, just go have fun.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what you can't do or anything, because able bodies walking into their first class, they're just as clueless as someone in a wheelchair.
Absolutely.
You know? So yeah, I'll just say focus on having fun.
Would you recommend doing like private lessons or something first like that, or just go on?
I would say it depends. I would say, you know, if you're very mobile and you don't have any, I would say, like health concerns, I'd say, you know, jump right in there. You know, if but you know, like for myself, my mobility is really limited, and I could tell, you know, Roy was like, I'm not sure what to do with this guy. So it was really good to have those privates for a while, where it was not just one-on-one learning, but it was also one-on-one learning for the coach.
Both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To say, so your coach doesn't say, oh, you can do this, you know, here, let me show you, and then, oh, you can't do it, okay. And then he's, you know, because he shows up to class and he's like, all right, tonight I'm going to teach this armbar series. And he gets there, and then there's me, and I can't do that armbar series. If he knows me well enough, then he's already sees me and says, okay, I know your mobility. Come here, let me show you a derivative of this, or, you know, something different, you know, and it really helps speed up the learning process. Yeah.
So I think part of it is, like you mentioned earlier, getting the coach to understand how to teach differently. And there are a lot of gyms out there where coach has a purple belt, coach has a brown belt, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, there are a lot of great gyms and great schools, and people have good times and get good jiu-jitsu, but it takes a bit of creativity and a bit of like really good knowledge about jiu-jitsu to be able to change it and have it still work.
Yeah, and have an open mind about things. I have people see techniques I do. I've had people come in and say, I see a high mount and arm bars and collar chokes. And I'm like, well, everybody says that until they roll with me. Yeah. You know? I mean, I'm aware, my coach was aware of all those things when he taught me how to deal with all this stuff. So, the open mind is a big thing. Yeah. And the only other, I would say, the biggest issue with certain people, I wouldn't even say coaches in general, but is when they want to try to really force a technique. Yeah. Like, you know, you can really do this. Like, no, I can't. Yeah. You know, I hear people, you know, switch your hips. My hips don't switch. I can't move them, you know. And, and to me, it's like in their brain, they just don't want to say, okay, he can't do that. He does have to do this weird unorthodox stuff. And if I could get them to just stop trying to force me to do things that my body physically won't do, and get them to open their mind. So I really think just having the open mind is a big thing as far as coaching us goes. Yeah,
and part of that probably is dealing with some of the frustrations of somebody tell you to do something that you're not going to be able to do. Right. It's like,
especially when you
go home that night, it doesn't feel that good. Like, I couldn't do it, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. So, and you know, say you're black belt, been training for 15 years. You've been hearing for 15 years you have to escape when you're mounted. Yeah. You know, you can't stay there. You gotta get out of there. It's not a good spot. And like my friend Max, how is he gonna escape? He can't UPA. He can't even really play a top game very much, because when he comes up on top, his legs stay there. So, you know, how are you gonna? No, you've got to figure out a way to get out of mount. You know, it just doesn't work that way. So the open-mindedness is a big thing as far as coaches go, and to help us.
And I guarantee you, somebody like that will be the hardest person in the room to submit from mount.
Yes, yes, yeah.
That's just the reality of it. Like, even getting him out on you is like, it was really hard to start an attack. Getting on your back, it was hard to start an attack.
Yeah.
It's like, you've spent more hours in those positions than I have. And
Right.
I've been on the mat much longer, but it's like, you've trained in those a ton and very deliberately. Like,
Right.
I train there, I typically like, okay, get out this method. It worked or didn't work, you know? You're trained there, okay, how do I perform in this position?
Right.
And get it to work for me. And I think it's been cool watching you. I think this is your third time on the show. I know at least we've had you on two before, and you've recommended some people we've had on the show, and that's been awesome. And I think you are like a pillar of adaptive athletes in jiu-jitsu.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you doing what you do and helping people out, because jiu-jitsu is life-changing for anybody who gets addicted to it. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen that result in you as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, when I first started, I could get out of my chair, I could have my legs in front of me, and I could scoot myself around on my butt, and now I hop around on my knees, and I do flips out of my chair, and it's just all stuff I've learned in jiu-jitsu, you know, and, you know, technique works to help your body move, just like it helps for me to move your body or whatever, so... Yeah, jiu-jitsu, man, it's like just endless.
Yeah. You think that you're using muscles you would have never used, and then thus being able to move in ways you never could have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's awesome. Man. Brian,
this has been awesome.
Thanks for coming to Wichita, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me again. This is definitely the best jiu-jitsu podcast.
Thanks, man.
You guys do the best interviews. You'll have some fun, and I love it.
Thanks for stopping by. Brian Freeman.
If anyone has an adaptive athlete, I travel a lot. I'd love to come out and help. I have like a motivational and educational seminar that I do. It's not like I'm going to come in and make you a world champion. I want to come in, motivate you, inspire you, put you in my situation a little bit, and just maybe change your perspective on things. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from when I've done it. So that's something else I like to do, and just anything I can do to, you know, help further adaptive athletes, jiu-jitsu, able-bodied athletes, whatever. You know,
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Instagram, Wheelchair Jitsu, Twitter, Wheelchair Jitsu, Facebook, Brian Freeman, but there's like a million Brian Freemans.
I'll put the right one on the link.
There's only one choking Hickson Gracie in his profile picture, though, so that's me. But yeah.
That's awesome. It was a pleasure. Hopefully see you again in Wichita.
Yes, for sure.
Later on this summer or sometime soon.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Byron. I really appreciate it.